the 1000th video. The one thing that marks an achievement that many YouTubers, content creators alike, streamers that upload quality highlight content never reach. We're doing this today. How's it going, everybody? I'm going to put this away before I start a fire somewhere. My name is Cody Booker, and this is Thursday Gear Talks. I want to thank you guys for being here. As you can tell by the title, this is a video a lot of people have wanted, a lot of people have been waiting for. A huge boom in the original video for the Swarm vs. Locust. Yes, Swarm vs. Locust round 2. This will be looking at everything currently we have. Gears 5 up to what we currently have in the story versus the E-Day Locusts. Arguably the strongest force that the Locusts have ever had. Now, I'm going to be pitting a lot of things together in this one. I'm going to be changing a few things. A few things are going to be making appearances that didn't make appearances in the last one. And this video is pretty much going to be the updated version 2, the round 2 that a lot of people have been asking and requesting for. Don't worry about the smoke. I'm going to move this in one moment just to make sure that I don't have smoke flying everywhere. So I'll see you in 1 second. Okay, that better for you? I don't have smoke flying everywhere from the incense. Okay, now that we got that little beginning and everything taken care of. Okay, this is going to be the updated version 2, blah. I already said we're going to be going over this. We're going to be putting the Swarm against the Locust. I'm going to have the numbers like last time. I've added, I believe, 2 new categories. I have everything down on paper, again, just like last time. And we're going to go over how everything's going to go. We're going to go over everything. We're going to be looking at the new guys versus the older crew that we had, a few updates to everything. And yes, the Krill are going to be making an appearance like everyone has wanted. The Krill are going to be coming up. The Krill are going to be relevant in this fight. They are going to appear. I had many people asking for it, and yes, we are going to include that. Also, coming up into this fight, we are going to be having Beast Riders that are coming back in. Those were in the last one. They're going to make their appearance, so don't worry. They're going to be coming in. Krill are going to be in. Also, Ukon is going to be making his appearance. Ukon will be in this fight because during E-Day, Ukon was still alive. Yes, he was originally in the Hollow working on his experiments, but for this situation, he is going to appear. He is going to be up and going. He is going to be fighting. So that means, yes, the Disciples and the Zealots are going to be making an appearance. I understand Tactics had them 1 year later, but by we saw with the Rise of Rom comics, Ukon already had the prototypes up and going. He was already working on them. He pretty much already had some prototypes that we saw, or at least a prototype. He knew what he was doing. So I'm going to include them, but not like the numbers he was trying to pump out in Tactics. Also, I said this in the original until I looked back on things and realized I made a mistake. Scourge is going to be in the fight. Scourge is going to be around. He's going to be fighting because Scourge was present during E-Day. He was topside. He was with Rom. Rise of Rom, it is shown. He did come topside with Rom, so he was there. Scourge will be in this fight. Also, we're going to talk about the Swarm. I am going to include a few things, and I'll make the reason known soon when we get to that portion of the video, I should say. The Speaker will be coming back for this fight. I will be bringing him back in for the fight. Also, the Hive Beast will be making a second appearance. Again, I will be explaining the Hive Beast and why he will be coming back. There's a good reason for that. Now, having said that, there are going to be things that won't be coming up in this fight. For instance, we are not going to have the Riftworm present. This is the E-Day Locusts. I am not going to put the Riftworm. I originally said in some comments and videos that I was going to include some things from later on, make it more of a fight with more things added. But the Riftworm, I'll explain when we get to it. Don't worry. The Riftworm's not making an appearance. Finally, the Kraken will also not be appearing here. I understand it was in the current Gears 5 stuff. I understand that the Kraken is something that is controlled and they can do what they want. But again, there's a reason. I will get to it when we get to the portion that talks about the things involving why the Riftworm isn't here and why the Kraken isn't. Okay, so I'm going to take care of this now because I say we'll talk about these guys later, the Riftworm and the Kraken. A little spoiler for later on in the video, I never mention why they're not in this. I never bring it up. I'm going to do that right now just to clear it up. I'm going to make this really quick just so we can get back to it. they're just too big and too colossal. The riftworm especially. I mean, just for how wide it is, it's it's half a mile wide. That's just for its width. Its length, if I remember right, I think it's 3 miles wide. I mean long. The Kraken, that's only measured by feet. Riftworms by miles. I don't need to explain. The riftworm would probably just bulldoze through it and kill it. You can make the argument about like, hey, what if it got taken over by the swarm? This, and this. It's just too complicated to try and figure out. And this thing bulldozing through everything, it would just be a mess. So I'm just not going to include them. It's just too many big things fighting at once when there's already a big fight going on. So that's the reason. Sorry, I completely forgot for the people who have already watched this and are rewatching it. Yeah, let's get back to it. All right, we're going to start off. We're going to run this the same way until we get to the 2 new categories. We're going to do this the same way we originally did things. Now, if you saw the original video, you know how things stacked up originally. You know how things were on both sides. You know what units were there. Those are still going to be the same in this one. We're just adding more to it as we go. Now, for this battle, I'm going to have, just like last time, for the long-range category we're starting off. For the long-range category, we will be having, for the swarm, the cankers making their return. The cankers being shot off by the carriers, and it will be going against the nemesis/seeders. Again, I included the nemesis in this one because they are really just made for long range. They're not made for any form of other combat except to shoot off nemesis, while a carrier is made to... He's going to be getting in close, very slowly, but he will be coming in to a close range fight. He is able to fight close range. Now, he's able to shoot off the cankers. He's able to do that. That is why I don't have the carrier in this one. Now, for the Locusts, another thing I forgot in the last one, the siege beasts. Now, the siege beasts are a thing. I do have to include them in this one. Now, originally, I had the Locusts winning this one with their nemesis. I still hold that belief still. The nemesis, they're able to ink things. They're able to ink the sky, if you're wondering where the krill is going to come up in this. With the sky inked, also their ink is able to harm people that are hit by the ink. While the carrier, yeah, the liquid or like the sludge that leave behind does burn the person. It does harm them, but you need to also remember, like, they're not being shot off as frequently as it seems as the nemesis. It seems like the carrier does need time to like get these cankers like formed again. And the cankers are living things. They're their own entities. So it seems like they're like being birthed from a carrier and being shot off. While it seems like nemesis can keep being shot off by a seeder, and it can keep continuously shooting them, inking the sky. It's been shown the nemesis are very deadly and destructive when they hit something. The same for the carriers with their cankers, but the cankers don't seem like they carry as much power as a nemesis would. It also seems the nemesis are a bit more durable than the cankers would be. So including that, and also now including the siege beasts, the Locusts are going to win this one for long range. This one fully goes to the Locusts for their W, and that's pretty much going to do it for the long range fighting of this battle. All right, continuing off of that, we're going to go to the mid-range fight now. For the mid-range battle, I have down here, for the swarm, I have the snatchers, and I also this time included the stumps. I put the stumps in this one because it does seem like, even with their tri-shot, they are able at a mid-range. Because if you've used the tri-shot, you know the mid-range for a tri-shot isn't that unbelievable. It's very much plausible. The tri-shot is a very sturdy gun. It's a very, very good heavy weapon that is very, very well for accuracy, pretty much. Accuracy and the ability to dish out damage is it's crazy. It's blows them ultra out of the water. I'm putting them at mid-range. Continuing off for the Locusts, for their mid-range, I have the boomers and I have the grinders just like last time. Now, there are a bunch of other things you can throw into this, like, hey, what about the mortars and all of that? We don't really have like a boomer or anything that's made exactly for that one particular thing. We don't have a unit that's particularly made for the mortar itself. Now, we do have drones that do that, but I have that as its own category for the drones when they fight. That's something we'll get to. Now, I gave the mid-range to the swarm. It really does seem like with them taking over COG technology, like with the rejects, the stumps, it really does seem that not only for their baseline, like, close quarters fighting range, but for their mid-range too, with the stumps, it really is a stump. Story-wise, stumps are straight. You don't mess with a stump. Stumps are just like, no. Stumps are just going to mess you up completely. Now, as for multiplayer-wise, I'm not counting this, but stumps are something you come across very often. They're not that difficult to take down, but it is shown in the story, in the canonical part of Gears, they are a threat. So I do have the Swarm winning this, because their mid-range, yes, the Snatchers are deadly as ever, and I don't remember if it was a tie or for the Locusts, but I did put down that, like, with the heavy power that the Boomer and the Mulcher had, they really could do some damage to the Snatcher. In fact, now that I think about it, maybe the Swarm did win this one. So the Swarm, I think, just kept their W. I think they might have won, if I remember. That video was, I think, 2 years ago. So I'm going to believe that the Swarm would have mid-range lock and key pretty easily. So mid-range is going to go to the Swarm on this one. I'm very certain on it. Okay. This one is where things are going to start diverging quite a bit. This is where the original video, things are a little different. Now, we're hitting close range. I will tell you right now, the Swarm know how to do close range. Give them credit for that. They know what they're doing. They are built to have things go in and rip some heads off barehanded. They know what they're doing. Locusts know what they're doing too, but these guys, I'll tell you right now before we go down the list. The Swarm win this. The Swarm win. We'll get into a chat about why. Okay, for the close range, the Swarm have the Carriers, the Pouncers, the Juvies, and then we start to get some more. We get the newest additions, we get Poppers, we get the Rejects, we get the Wardens. The Wardens are very deadly close range. And we get the Matriarch. Now, the Matriarchs here, instead of for the leaders, because the Matriarch was never, like, in control running the show and everything. This thing is just a force of nature death. It's not a literal force of nature, but this thing is death incarnate. Okay? Let's go over the Locust quick, and then I'll run down why. For the Locust, they have Tickers, Maulers, Butchers, Wretches, and they have the Berserkers. And that's what they have. Now, here's the thing. Can the Matriarch be taken down, you could say, easier than a Berserker? That's where an argument could come in, I could see. Yes and no. The Matriarch has a lot easier or a lot more visible of a weak spot than a normal Berserker. I truly do believe that enough Berserkers could kill a Matriarch. It hasn't been shown how, like, they have never done a stress test on how strong the Matriarch is. But I do believe that enough Berserkers throwing random fists could easily hit the weak spot and possibly start to kill the Matriarch. Now, as far as we also know, the Matriarch has more weaknesses, like, for temperature-wise, it does seem like it can be frozen. We've never tested freezing on a Berserker, we don't know, but it does seem like there can be a lot of damage and, like, more elemental problems with a Matriarch. Now, I do believe the Matriarch is bigger. That's a definite. It is definitely stronger. It is definitely smarter. It definitely has more abilities, like its spikes. It has so much more than a Berserker can offer. But honestly, answer me this. Let's say 8 Berserker. Let's say 3. 3 is more understandable because I think for the story of Gears, the most we've ever had in a generalized area. Not in one place at one time, but a generalized area. I think the most we've ever had is 3. And I think that was possibly in Judgment. I'm probably wrong. I think I'm right. But that's the most we've ever had in one generalized area that we, the fans, have ever seen, is roughly maybe 2 or 3. 3 Berserkers versus a Matriarch, I do believe the Matriarch would win. But I do believe the Matriarch would possibly take a small bit of damage. Because the Berserkers aren't just going to go one by one. They're all 3 going to go at once. That's just how it's going to go. And I understand there's more units in the close range, but this is the big selling point. Originally, the Berserker in the last video, I clearly remember, rampage, destroyed, death and destruction all around, all forces, continuing onward. There's been a big giant wall called the Matriarch placed now. And that wall can ram at as quick as a Berserker and twice as powerful. I do believe the close range, and the Wardens are going to dish out a lot. I'm not giving enough credit to the Wardens. The Wardens are going to just destroy. I truly do believe that it's going to be a small bit of a fight, maybe like a low-level mid-tier fight for close, but the Swarm's going to continue on and just rampage. I truly believe that. They win close quarters. That's the best I can say. Now we're going to go in to the infantry or the soldiers for this. So pretty much the drones, the elites, we have the hunters, we have the snipers, we have grenadiers, we have all of that are going to be generalized in this area. I didn't list down the 50,000 different variants and everything for it, just the real basic ones. It's not like flamers going to be left out or anything, or specialty units like a mortar or some, I don't know. I generalized it, but they're all involved here. Okay, so starting off for the Swarm, we have the Imagos or the Imagos, depending how you want to say it. The Bastions are going to be here. The drones are here, and the Scions will be making their appearance again. I understand Scions can carry a grinder, they can be mid-range, but they're the evolution of what the Locusts were for the drones. I truly did feel they still belong to be in close range, just because this is what they were. I still feel this is where they should be. For the Locusts now, we are going to have the drones. Again, very broad, but trust me. Therons, the Cantus. This is where we introduce what I forgot. The Blood Mounts and the Riders will be involved here because they really are meant to become close range. Now, with the introduction of Ukon that we now have, I have to involve this because he is here. Again, it's never stated when he perfected the Disciples and Zealots, but I'm going to place them here, not in high numbers, but I'm going to place quite a few here because he had prototypes. It was shown he had prototypes. He had testing he was doing on it. I truly believe he might have had something in the works or an idea of what he was doing, so I'm going to place them here out of good faith for Ukon's part. We're going to have the Disciples and the Zealots are going to be here. Now, I gave this one to the Locusts. Now, you need to understand, the Locusts were like the masters of quantity over quality. They mastered that. They had that down lock and key. They had so many Locusts ready to attack. E-Day was a flood of Locusts. It was a Locust plague. The literal thing for Locusts are a giant, it looks like waves of insects that come through and just devour and destroy everything in their path. That's what they were. There were that many of them. E-Day took out a quarter to more of the population of all people living on Sarah within one day, a 26-hour basis. That a quarter of the population's dead. They knew what they were doing. Yes, the tactics were involved. They put down a strategic plan in place. But their drones, there's so many of them. You need to understand how many there are. And when it comes to the Swarm have numbers. They're gaining numbers. They can transform humans into Juvies, into Imagos, into drones. They're able to do that. But there's so many of the Locusts. There's tons of them. And it's shown in tactics, and it is spoken about. They do have the technology to change humans into pretty much drones. I don't know why I keep forgetting it. There's drones on each side. They're able to do that. It is stated that Ukon has the technology to transform a human into a Locust. That's like the torture chambers are like the beginning stages of doing that. It's stated that they can do it. Not as well and perfected as the Swarm can, but they can do it. And there's just so much here. Yes, the Bastions are going to be in there. The Bastions are going to be shielding. But you need to understand, the Blood Mounts are fast. The Disciples and Zealots, even if you kill them, the gas that goes off is going to damage the opposing side. I don't know any other way to say it. Now, you could say emulsion. It's going to actually fuel the Swarm because look at what happened in 4, what the Scions are able to do. But at the same time, you need to remember, we haven't seen what kind of testing that Ukon did with the emulsion. We don't know what would happen if they came in contact. I'm going to assume if it does not have the effect the Scions do, it's going to harm them. That is an assumption right now. I'm going to believe, though, with how aggressive they are, with the emulsion pumping into them, they are going to be a threat. They are going to fight. You know, we still have, yes, the Scions are a heavy threat. The Therons are bred and made to be like uber drones. There's a reason they guard the queen. They are that powerful. They are that deadly. Rom was a drone. He was born a drone. Don't believe me, look it up. Trust me, I didn't believe it either. He's a drone. But he's like this freakishly born, like, you know, 1 in a million chance, powerful, giant uber drone that was born. And he led the Therons at one point. He had his own Theron group. He led them. They are that powerful that Rom had his own group of Therons, his own personalized Therons. The, like, black Therons. They're that deadly and scary. I fully believe that the Locusts still have this lock and key. Their numbers just I don't know how else to explain it. Just numbers. Numbers. They win because of their just huge amount of numbers. Going on, we now have the large units. These are the units for the big boys. These are the guys coming in, not just guns a-blazing, but giant guns a-blazing. So, for this list, for the Swarm, I have the Swarmax, which are still here. They're still prevalent. I forgot to mention it when I was doing one of my videos on, like, there was no major boss in Gears 5. I forgot to mention the Swarmax. The Swarmax was not in charge still, don't get me wrong. But I want to mention that, yes, the Swarmax are very deadly, very powerful, and many people wanted to say the Swarmax do have an advantage over the the Brumox. I don't know why I forgot the name. It's just Swarm attached to Brumox, pretty much. I have them. I have the Hive Beast or Hive Beasts making a return. I'll get into that in a moment. And then going on to the Locusts, we have Brumox. Then we also have the Ukon-built Brumox. They operate a little differently than a normal Brumox. We'll also get into that. We have Reavers, Corpsers, and I threw in Hydras. Again, Ukon's here now in this fight. Ukon is a major wrench in the plan. He's a major boost to one side and a major detriment to the other. Ukon plays a bigger role than most people think. He's not just the enemy in tactics and makes an appearance in Rise of Rom. No, he's an actual problem. That's why it was such a big deal that the COG took care of him. This is a big problem we kind of need to deal with. Now, the reason Hive Beasts are still here is that as far as we're concerned or no, I'm placing it there for two reasons. One, to bolster the numbers or else Swarmax is the only thing there. And two, it's never established that one Hive Beast is the only one that could exist. I believe that other Hive Beasts could exist. It looked like it was like the final fusion, amalgamation, transformation, evolutionary line of Pouncers and Snatchers. It kind of made me think that. Obviously not just one, but it made me think that's what it could be. It's never stated if there's any more. As far as we know as an audience, fan base, there's only one. But let's just assume that another one pops up the exact same in this fight. Let's assume that, just for now. That's what we're going to have also helping out with the Swarm. Now, the Ukon built Brumox and the Hydras. I say Hydras because it is shown there is more than one Hydra. We had one that Scourge rode and we had one that Ukon rode. And those are two different ones because they both died. Now, it is also shown in Gears of War Ultimate Edition, take it with a grain of salt whether or not you want to take this over the original, that there was a Hydra in that one. There was concept art for Judgment of a Hydra, concept art. Now, I believe there are more Hydras. I believe that there are naturally done Hydras that are in the wild that got close to emulsion and they transformed. It is stated Ukon was the one who pretty much forced an evolutionary line in them to become Hydras, from Reaver to Hydra. They are pretty much just souped up, changed, mutated Reavers. I believe that there are more Hydras. I believe there are not that many. I believe maybe at a max, at the time of, let's say, Gears of War 2, when they were down there and there was one being ridden by Scourge, I'm going to believe at that point maybe there were 3 to 4 to 5 around. Maybe. I have no clue. I'm not with the Coalition. I'm assuming that and guessing. Take it with a grain of salt. But this is E-Day. Scourge is alive. Ukon is alive. Now, there are two different Hydras. I'm going to assume there's 2 Hydras flying around here. I'm going to assume 2. I'm going to assume if you want to take Ultimate, there's 3. If you want to take the concept art for anything, there's 4. But there are Hydras here. I'm going to believe Hydras. Now for the Brumox. Ukon was souping up and changing some of these Brumaks. They fire differently than the Brumaks we know and we've seen. Now, that pretty much goes with the rockets. You could consider that to fight mid-range, long-range, or close range. Probably not close range, or else it's going to blow itself up. But I'm not putting in the other ones because this is a Brumak. It's a large force. So I'm going to assume that Ukon's going to have a few of these made up and going around. Now, you can probably already guess who's going to win. It's just like the last one. I'm honestly going to probably give this one to the Locusts. I believe Locust won last time. They're winning this one also. The Locusts are just going to win. There's a lot more big creatures now, especially with Ukon here now. Ukon was known to create his little pets, his little monsters. He was the mad scientist. He made these things to kill and destroy. The Swarm don't have that. Yeah, they have a bunch of things that'll mutate. Like, we haven't seen a mutated Corpser. We haven't seen a mutated Reaver. We haven't seen any of that. If a Brumak can be mutated and changed from the emulsion and become something of the Swarm, I believe they can too, but we have not seen that. So I can't take that to throw into this or a hypothetical. I have to assume the Locusts are going to win this one just because by what I have, the data that's here, it would show the Locusts would win. The Locusts win with the big units. Next up, the X Factors. Now, I was going to save this one for last, but I moved it up because I thought I had 2 new categories, but by the look of it, I think I just have 1. So, the X Factors. These are the things that can change the tide of the battle. These are the things that you can't really measure with like the forces that are already going head to head. You can't really measure those in. They have to have their own class. These are the guys who they can make or break a battle easily on their own. These are the things that easily one side can have, the other doesn't, and it can really be a detriment to the other, or vice versa. These are the X Factors, the things that change it all. On this for the Swarm, I have the Hive Mind. The Hive Mind is definitely something that we have seen, we have definitely talked about throughout the games, something that is a major point right now in the games, something that is very fine-tuned and scary if you think about how it operates with the Swarm. I also have the Flock, or the Flocks, I should say. Pretty much the Swarm-infested, pretty much like heart leeches, or the leeches themselves. These things, story-wise, are just deadly as ever and something to be feared. It is shown these things can easily eat through metal. These things can infect other things, for instance, DBs. It can easily kill someone. One leech can kill someone very easily. It is a very scary thing to think about. These things flying around, they can go to any range. They can fight anything. It is something to be very aware of and worrisome of. For the Locusts, we have the massive numbers I mentioned earlier. That's something that has to be mentioned here, how many there are. But I have already talked about this, so I'm just going to have it there and just continue onward. So we have the massive numbers of the Locusts. I don't have it written here, but I am going to mention this. We have the pseudo hive mind that the Locusts have. Now, their hive mind is different from what the Swarm have. The Swarm have fine-tuned and perfected what was already in place for the Locusts. The Locusts had essentially a one-way hive mind connection with Reyna, or Mira. Reyna is the leader, and we'll get to her later for the Swarm. But Mira had a one-way connection. We don't know exactly how she would connect to them, but it is assumed she's just connected to everybody. Now, we see this because it doesn't appear like any of the Locusts are able to like telepathically know what the other's doing or just mentally just have the information on hand. It really doesn't seem that way. It's never been shown that way, so I'm not going to consider that because we haven't talked about or seen anything like that. It is shown that Mira is connected to all of them in some way. Maybe not Ukon, but that's a special case because, well, she probably is because he was the first Scion and things are different there. Although the first working good Scion. Anyway, she's able to speak to everybody. She's able to speak to Rom telepathically, no problem, and I have a feeling she can see through the eyes of them. I do believe that with the pseudo hive mind, that is something to take into account too. And finally, because everyone has wanted it, everyone has mentioned it, it has constantly come up. Let's say this fight goes into the evening, there's a decent amount of ink in the air. Let's say that happens. The Krill. The Krill are here. The Krill are fighting. The Krill with the numbers they had during E-Day. Let's talk about the Krill. Okay. The reason the Krill were not in the first one was 2 reasons. One, they are uber broken, and they can pretty much win any fight, period. And two, they were so broken that in Gears 2, story-wise, there's a reason, but behind the scenes, they took the Krill out because there's no way they could be in the Hollows fighting. The Krill would kill everybody. X Factor, guess what? Whoop-de-piddly-doo, the Locusts win. You know why? I'll tell you why. The Krill. The Krill win. Everyone wanted to hear this. I'm going to say it. You're welcome, everybody. The Krill are such a powerful X Factor force, they would rip through everything. I even believe, like, if you threw every single Krill you have at the Hive Beast, literally every Krill, I think the Hive Beast would die. The Krill are that strong. The Krill are just that powerful. And Rom's also here, so that's another thing we'll mention soon. But yes, the Krill are here. They're that powerful. The Hive Mind's strong. Don't get me wrong. The Swarm's Hive Mind, it is a very tactical thing they have on their side. Don't get me wrong either. The Heart Leeches, the Flock, oh yeah. I think, honestly, I think easily a Leech could kill a Krill. But not all of them. Not something that there's so many Krill. They ink the sky so they can come out. But understand, there's so many Krill. If all the Krill came out during the day, they could ink the sky themselves with how many there are. The sky would go black from how many Krill there actually are. X Factor has to go the Locust. The Krill are just too powerful. I have to give it to them. That's another point going for the Locusts. Next up, we have the leadership on each side to close this out. This one has definitely changed a bit since the events of 5. Now that we know more characters that have been around from tactics pretty much involving Ukon. Let's start going down the list there. For the Swarm, we have Reyna / Mira because how it's shown, Mira's pretty much just running Reyna's body at this point. Then we have high-ranked Scions, because it is stated there are Scions that are just very high-ranked from their previous life, or that are Alphas, or as I've said before, Chad amongst Chad Scions, that are just up there on a rank of their own. We also have the Speaker making his appearance again. Yes, the Speaker was around, and he was definitely the leader at the time. Again, I'm using this to bolster some numbers, but also because of the fact that I don't think he was the only one that could ever talk. I have a feeling that other speakers are a thing. I have a feeling that for him, he's probably not the only one, but at the time, he's the only one we knew of. So I'm considering that speaker the one we're talking about. So we have the Speaker. On to the Locusts. Mira, obviously. Rom makes his return. Karn makes his return. Scourge now makes his way onto the battlefield. Ukon is now a member of Smash. And yes, everyone who was talking about it, Jermod will put in here also. Jermod pretty much following under Rom directly. Now, in my personal opinion, I believe the Locusts win. Let me explain. Reyna's a thing now. Reyna's involved, and by what we've seen, when someone is hooked up as the leader of the Swarm are operating a lot more mentally than they normally would. A lot more things are firing off in their heads than normal. They learned how to make armor, how to make guns, just by having Reyna pretty much, not even Reyna alive, but just like Reyna hooked up with her dead body pretty much even. And then when she was activated, they got even smarter again. Like, things changed. They got better at what they did. They became a threat. Now, actually, I think the armor and everything was after she was brought back with Mira in her head, but still, you get what I mean. Even with a dead battery, they're still working with something instead of compared to nothing. Now, that's a powerful force. It bolsters everything. Don't get me wrong. In my opinion, honestly, the Swarm, when it comes to numbers and quality, I think they have power. They have, like, the quality itself compared to the Locusts, who had a lot of quantity. Now, the Scions, with what they're able to do, power up, that's even more bolstering for their forces. I'm not going to lie, that really is something to think about. The Speaker, at the time the Speaker was in charge, honestly, like, for a day one operation, the Swarm didn't do too bad if you think about it. But the Locusts. We have Scourge. We have seen what Scourge is capable of. We know what Scourge can do. When it comes to the Cantus that would be on the battlefield here, guess what? He's involved. He's the one that's also going to be leading Cantus. We have Jermod, who has fought with Rom. Jermod is going to be definitely holding down the fort, helping out here and there, going out leading his own units probably. He got promoted at the end of Rise of Rom. He's got a rank, a decent rank. You know, Ukon's here now. Ukon is creating these giant things, and you can definitely guess he's chilling with Reyna, just like, not Reyna, Mira. Reyna's on the other side. He's chilling with Mira, just like, yep, let's have some fun. He's going to jump out there sooner or later to start picking around at bodies and seeing what he can tinker with later. You know he will. You know he's going to have fun playing with emulsion crystals. You know, we got Karn. He's going to be riding around with Shibboleth, probably having a fun old time taking orders from Rom. He's a general, but don't forget, High General Rom's above that. Rom's going to go out and have some fun. He's not going to sit around and wait. He's going to go out and fight unless Mira tells him not to. And the Krill are here, so you can tell it's going to be Shadow of Rom all over again. Death, 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 death. Pick you up, cut your head off. Death, death. That's how it's going to go. That's just how it's going to be. The Locusts win leadership. There's no way around it. Literally have, aside from, if you put Scourge wasn't in the council as one of the heads at that point, but let's say you put Scourge in there as the replacement for the council. You have all members of the Locust Council there. You have Scourge if you were to put him in charge of the religious base. You have Ukon, the side of science. You have Rom, the leader of the military. You have Mira leading everything. You have the entire council of the Locusts at this battlefield. On the other side, you have Reyna. Granted, the hive mind, she's able to talk to everything, control everything. Granted also, she's bolstering the forces by just being attached. You have the High Scions giving power to them all by the emulsion dust. Don't get me wrong. There's just too much tactical thought going on the other side of this with the Locusts. I have to give it to them. And as you can notice by the score, I even have it written down here. Do you notice something here? Do you notice something? The numbers are the exact same as the last video. Because in the last video, I added a new category, but in the last video, there was a tie. The Swarm finally got a win on one of them, and the Locusts ended up winning the new category. So let's talk about this in a conclusion to all this, just to wrap up why it would go this way. So to bring it all home, let's have a sit-down talk, heart to heart, and talk about why it would go this way. Why this is a different, well, not a different, it's literally the same outcome with different forces being added in. Let's talk about why the things that we talked about, the different forces, the different areas of battle, the drones with the infantry on each end, the leadership, why everything came out the same. It has to be understood that, and I had a lot of people that wanted to talk about this in the comments, I'm open to talk about it all the time. I really am. I'm passionate about this. I like to talk about it. And again, thank you guys for being here for the 1000th episode for the round 2 of the Swarm versus Locust. But let's save that for the ending. It needs to be understood. The E-Day Locusts, there were so many of them. So many that when they threw the light mass bomb at the end of the first game, they threw it in there. Yes, it did kill creatures of the Hollow. It pretty much essentially wiped out the Krill. Aside for small numbers of them, the majority were wiped out, killed. You know, they lost Rom at the end of one, and they just destroyed all the outer portions of the Hollow. There were so many Locusts, they were able to have pretty much a revival within like days. Not because of their numbers being popped out more, but because there were so many on the inner Hollow. There were so many that they could continue fighting. It's just that what happens in 2, the reason in 2 they go to the Hollow and they're so prepped and ready, everyone's on the same page, is because a good amount of Locusts got wiped out to the point where everything finally became a bit more even. You know, everyone was excited. We're bringing the fight to them. We've damaged them. We've straight up just went in and punched out the outer Hollow. That was it. Like, they were excited because they had a chance. Understand, when Marcus is busted out of prison 14 years after E-Day, humanity, there's not a lot left at that point. I'd like to say half of humanity's dead by that point. Day 1, quarter of the population's gone. You know, you have the Swarm. Granted, they came back quick within one night. That was extremely quick. But within one day, people were able to be like, this is the threat we face. One day, you know, we lost outsider villages. We lost settlements. We did. The human population, remember, is still low. The birthing, not even the birthing pits, that's something else altogether from the original, like, 25 years in the past. But understand, like, the birthing plan that Jin has in place is to repopulate the numbers. The DBs are in place because the numbers of human soldiers are so low. You know, Baird is making this so that there are something that can be handled. The settlements are being built by robots because It's too dangerous to have humans just go out there and possibly get damaged or killed. Like, they're that much of a necessity. There's so much. And granted, there's deadly forces over on the Swarm. The Matriarch is a major problem no matter where you are on the battlefield. But also understand, the Matriarch. Let's say that a Brumox steps on the Matriarch. The Matriarch is definitely going to shred that foot to pieces and probably kill that Brumox, but the Matriarch's still going to take damage. You know? The Matriarch's still going to get hurt. I do believe throw the Matriarch against any of the leaders of the Locusts, she'll kill them. No problem. But remember, like, there's still that question of, like, how much can the Matriarch take before it's killed? I don't think the Matriarch would whittle down the numbers enough to the point where it would be a fair-on fight by the numbers. I just don't think so. I have to continue to give this one to the Locust. I'm sorry for the people who are saying that I underestimate the Swarm. I'm not. Truly, I'm not. But I just don't think the Swarm has the ability to take down E-Day Locusts. The number that were there on E-Day. I just don't think it's possible. And that's going to do it. That's going to do it for round 2 of the Swarm versus the Locusts. I mean, 1,000 videos are on this channel right now. That is crazy to think about. And not obviously, Gear Talks do not take up a fraction of that. Maybe 1%. But it's crazy to think that the 1,000th video is Gear Talks. I had to decide what it would be. Because the 1,000th video had to be something, I want to say special. Definitely special. But I also thought, like, something you guys would, like, definitely enjoy. You enjoyed the Swarm versus Locust video. That huge boon that came through for December and the beginning of January. It is by far the biggest turnout I've ever had for any video ever. I mean, we hit so many subscribers off that one video. I have no ability to show my gratitude to the proper level I can. There's no way I could show it truly how happy and blessed and crazy this has all been. Like, 1,000 videos. I never thought I would have that many down. You know, I'd like to believe all of them were put down with care and love. You know, obviously some of them I dropped the ball on, but I try not to. And then the Gear Talks. You guys make all of this possible. You make it so that this channel has something, you know, people look forward to. If it's not the Let's Plays or any announcements or anything dumb I decide to put up, you guys are at least here for a Gear Talk. You enjoy hearing the lore of Gears. Say what you will about the current direction the Coalition's taken everything in. At least we're all, like, excited, pumped, and happy with how the lore is for this amazing, amazing story that was created. Thank you guys for everything. Thank you for watching this video. Thank the patrons for making it possible. Thank everyone for watching. Thank everyone for making it possible again. I'll see you guys in the next video. I have a new discussion series planned coming for the Gear Talks. I think you're going to like it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you again. Later.